Hello, everyone. Welcome to the August 2024, as previously scheduled, cataloging special interest group. There was no July special interest group due to our normal date falling on the US holiday. So if you're watching the recordings, you didn't miss anything in July. There will also be special interest groups in person at Koha US conference, which is August 13th through 16th. You can get information on that at koha-us.org. And I will not be there in person, but I think Sarah, the wonderful cataloger Sarah, will be hosting that. So if you're going to the conference, be sure to check out the in-person cataloging special interest group. And I wanted to mention too that KohaCon 24 is coming up. And you can get information on that at 2024.kohacon.org. And that's September 23rd through 27th in Montreal. And there's also a lot of information on these in the new Koha chat hosting site, Mattermost, at chat.koha-community.org. The Koha chat there is fantastic. There's all sorts of channels. There's a channel for KohaCon 24, a social channel. There's a new cataloging channel. Woo! So check out the Koha community chat on Mattermost and let me know if you have questions. I'm there as often as I can be. And I wanted to let folks know that if you haven't checked out the new Koha manual, sort of one manual to rule them all. Oh, yes, Margaret, links. I will, as the discussion goes on, I will put links in the chat for all this. There's now one Koha manual rather than a separate manual for each version. And it will say things like, this feature debuted in or is new as a version, blah, 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 blah. And until this point, things like working with OCLC Connection Client and MarcEdit have kind of all been in the Koha manual, even the parts that are particular to that software. So what I'm going to work on is with, and we talked about this at the documentation meetings, which are open to all, keeping in the Koha manual the parts particular to Koha. So for example, what scripts and things do you need to do to Koha and with Koha in order to make the OCLC connection gateway work? Thank you, Fred, for putting in a link to that. But then on the Koha wiki is going to be all the connection client stuff, like the connection client screenshot and what does the 952 field look like for item records and connection, that sort of thing. Do the same, and I'm going to do the same thing for MarcEdit. But I don't have the latest version of MarcEdit running on my work computer. So if anybody would like to step up to work with me on, say, updating the MarcEdit stuff, I'm happy to update the manual and copy the strictly MarcEdit portions over to the wiki, but I can't do updated screenshots or make sure it's all still current. So if anybody wants to help out with MarcEdit, that would be super. Just let me know. And I think, Fred, you have been working with some mesh authority records, and there was some discussion in the community about mesh records.
Yes. You can download all the medical subject heading records, which are also authority files um, from NLM. I think it has It's BIN, but it's actually just an MRC file. Can't remember what it is at the moment. And yeah, I deleted all my, by the way, I was using a test site. Haven't done it on a real site yet. Deleted all our current authority records and then uploaded 600,000 mesh authority records. I had to increase the number of servers and the RAM on my cloud server by, I think it was 32 gigabytes. But after that, worked like a charm. Are there any medical librarians out there? Email me or text me, whatever. I can tell you how. Also not really relevant to cataloging, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I was at the Special Libraries Association conference last month in Kingston, Rhode Island, where I presented a poster called Introducing Koa, which is available at the website of Fred and the Avenging Chicken.
And Fred has put a link in the chat, avengingchicken.online. Thanks, Fred.
And it was announced in today's newsletter.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring to the group?
I have a couple of questions and basically what's the common way to do some things. We are a small reference library and we are cataloging books that have existed for quite a while. We've got a large number of serials and I've discovered that putting an 830 mark field in the serial itself will give you a link to all of the items that have the same parent. It's called series. And if you put a 773, it'll give you a link to the parent. In the parent, I'm also putting an 830 because then I can get to all the sub-serials. Is that the right way to do it? Or is there some way that's better?
This is a topic that comes up quite a bit. Series or linking entry field. Series being usually pairs of 490s and 830s. Linking entry fields being various combinations of 7x fields.
I've tried putting a 490 in and it doesn't seem to do anything. And I
Right.
really need to be able to get to the sub items of the series. So
Right. The series is usually a monographic series. And that's something like the Loeb Classic Library or even the Penguin Great Ideas series. And it's usually books. The instances that there is a serial issued in a series are teeny weeny. It's pretty much never happens. The 490 is a transcription field. And that's supposed to match the item exactly. And historically, it would display, but now it tends to never display, and you need that 830 with it for a display field and a controlled, authority controlled. So that's really always pretty much books. If you're doing records for issues of a serial, or articles within issues of a serial, that sort of thing, then it's usually that parent-child 773.
okay, the other thing is on the elements of the serials, at least I think they're serials. it'll have things like volume 1 dates or something, but it won't have the name of the base serial, the parent. Should I add that name to the lower level serials?
Lower level serials.
I can show you a
Yeah.
example.
Please
So,
share your screen.
Okay, so let me share that. So here is a serial.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I presume you can see it. It's 1977 to 1980. And it's got multiple parts and so forth. But it doesn't have the name of the serial. If I click on in, which is the 773, I get the actual name. Should this name here be in this name here at the beginning of this name?
If these issues between now others chime in and correct me if you know of a different or better way or you do something different. If these issues from 1977 to 1980 don't have their own titles, then I wouldn't be doing separate bibliographic records for them at all. I would be doing item records and just attaching those items to the parent record.
Okay. Let me show you what the serial, how many there are. There are literally hundreds of these things. Our data was inherited from OLIB, which was done by Family Search. And unfortunately, the ones that we have, they have in their catalog as well, and they're moving to Koha, but they're not completely there yet. What they haven't done is fixed any of this stuff. And we can't access their Koha except in a read-only mechanism. And I actually have that here to show as well. So this is what their Koha lets us see. Sometimes they're actually moving to Solr, and when they move a record to Solr, they get rid of the MARC record information, which is very frustrating. So we have all these records, we inherited them, and we're actually trying to catalog the actual serials that we have because we're digitizing them and they're available within our libraries. You can come in and see them. Whereas on Family Search, you can see it exists, you can see that we have it, but you can't see it because it's copywritten. So should I indeed add this name into these? Should I try to, I mean, there's a whole lot of these, and we're talking tens of thousands of them. And it would be a real pain to put this name on all of them or make these sub items of the main biblio record. How would you proceed?
So Fred says, put the question out to the community. That's an excellent idea, either on the Koha US email list, the general Koha US list, in the Mattermost Koha chat. One solution I can see is you can, now again, I don't often use MarcEdit, but MarcEdit might be a way to copy that 245 title from the parent bibliographic record into the 245 of those, and then put that 1977 to 1980 in a subfield N.
Okay.
It's a workaround. It's a total workaround.
Right.
Another solution is you can merge the items on that 1977 to 1980 onto the parent record, but you'd need to be sure that the numbering was in the items if you're merging those.
Right.
I would be inclined to.
I'll definitely put that out there. Let me show you. Part of the issue is that the biblio numbers that are being used, so there are different for each item. So each item has got its own biblio as well as that parent that sits out there. It's frustrating. All this stuff was cataloged starting about 13 years ago by people that had no idea what it meant to catalog anything. So
yeah, definitely.
And they're all volunteers, hundreds of them, and everybody did it differently. So it's kind of frustrating, but
it does look like, though, you've got your data there. The MarcEdit, I operation, I think, would be pretty simple. You could copy the title from those 773s right into your 245 subfield A and move. You could either move the existing subfield A dates to a subfield N, or just leave them at the end. See if you could put that data
Okay.
right in front of it and just leave it all in a subfield A, and then you'd know which serial you're talking about.
Okay.
Mhm.
Which brings up my next question. If I edit stuff in Mark Edit, when I try to load it back in, it overwrites everything that's there. I can't seem to update a field. Is there any way to do that?
It will overwrite the entire bibliographic record, but if you've brought over
Okay,
the
so
entire bibliographic record and edit the whole
okay,
thing and put it back in, it should be okay.
it should be okay. Okay.
Mark
Well,
Edit.
I've been literally trying that, but I
Correct.
obviously have a development side I do that stuff on. But
Well, first of all, you
Um,
probably need to have a backup version of Koa that you can play around with and break.
I do. It's in a virtual machine, and I have
Good, good.
3 duplicates of the virtual machine, so I do it there and so forth.
Yes, and
One.
Mark Edit has a merge files section where you can say, um, let's say you want to replace the 251 file with a new 251, but you don't want to replace the 952. Can't
Okay.
remember
I'll look at
exactly
that.
how it works, but it is possible.
Okay, if it's possible, I'll continue digging because one last question. As you can see, this is the record that Family Search has for one of these. And unfortunately, Family Search is subcontracting to Bywater, and Bywater won't turn on the import capability or export capability for Biblios, the Z3950, without charging them more, and Family Search won't pay more. So we don't have the ability to connect to them and grab the Biblio records. We can view them until they move to Solar. Is there anything you guys know of where you can take and copy this, run it through something that'll change all those bars to Control D's to actually just re-enter it into the Biblio Advanced Editor? Okay, I will put that out on the list as well then.
Ask that question on the list as well. I would first try it in Mark Edit.
Okay, thank you very much.
And a text editor will do that. It's kludgy, but a plain old text editor, you could put it in and then replace your characters, find and replace.
I've tried doing that, and the problem is Control D's, which is what you need for Koha,
Yeah.
don't work in text editors very well. I've actually tried sed scripts and some Perl to do it. It's just painful.
Do let us know how it goes.
I will definitely let everybody know what happens.
Does anybody?
I had the same question about, can I just copy a Mark record that I find in like somebody's Aspen site or public catalog? If I could see the Mark record in a staff view. And the furthest I got was to just copy the whole thing, paste it into Mark Edit, and then there is an option that says normalize LC records. And what it does is kind of fixes it to add delimiters and update the spacing and add all the like equal signs at the beginning of the Mark Edit, but it deletes the leader and some of the control fields. And so then you can't put it back into Koha. So I'm also very interested in if somebody has a way to do it in sort of a batch way, I'm very interested.
If Mark Edit does the normalize, I'll see if there's some way to put that together with the scripts I have to actually do it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's under tools, mnemonic formatting tools.
Okay.
In the menu.
Thanks.
Cool.
I wonder if there would be a way using the mark modification templates in Koha upon importing your batch to supply some sort of bare bones default leader fields.
If you just click
Maybe.
in the leader field in the when you're editing a single record, Koa will put in a default one. Sorry, I may be saying things that
I
you've
guess you
already
could.
discussed because of the
No,
phone
no.
call. Sorry about that. And a lot of catalogs, not just Koa, will let you download mark records from them.
Yes, it's just Family Search has all of our records pretty much.
Are you on
And it'd
good
be
terms
really,
with them?
yes, but as I mentioned before, they're using Bywater, and Bywater won't turn on the Z3950 unless they pay them more, and they won't pay them more.
Could you ask them just to export their entire database?
They won't do it. I actually obtained an
Oh.
export when they moved from OLIB to Koha. I actually got the same mark export and the full OLIB data export that Bywater was given. So that's at least a plus. So I started from there, which is about 30,000 records. So
what modifications did they make to get them into Koa other than 952?
Bywater won't tell us exactly. We're guessing. They're in the process of moving to Solar as well, which then deletes the mark record from the staff view and in their Koha OPAC interface.
What is Solar?
Solar, do you know what Elasticsearch is?
All too well.
So Solar is a competitor to Elasticsearch. They're both free. It's a little bit different architecture, but does the same essential thing. And Bywater's decided to go with Solar.
Okay. Yeah, I've been having a horrible time with Elasticsearch.
Well, if anybody needs help with Solar, I've used it quite extensively in my employment. So
We're loving Elastic, but our catalog is weird. It's a maritime museum library, so.
well, I use Solar for doing indexing of large amounts, and we're talking millions and maybe billions of web logs. And Solar works a little bit better for that than Elasticsearch, but we tried Elasticsearch too, and it does a reasonable job as well.
Well, will Solar be an index option on Koa anytime soon? Do you know?
I haven't heard that anybody's using it except for Bywater. I'm interested. If it will be, that'd be really nice.
I
I
just
love
read on
Elasticsearch.
I just read on one of the mailing lists that with the new Elasticsearch work that they're going to make it open for other indexing, and Solar was specifically mentioned. It was just something that was mentioned on the list. I don't fully understand the details though.
Solar works a little bit faster and more efficient if you have very large number of records, and you can put it up on over 5 machines. You have to have at least 5 virtual machines to be running it. Elasticsearch, you can get by with just one. You can't really do that with Solar.
If anybody's
I'm trying to. Sorry, go ahead.
if anybody's looked at Viewfind, the open source discovery layer, it's built on Solar.
I'm putting a link to the Koha bug 10662 in the chat. I don't fully understand this bug. It's called build OAI-PMH harvesting client, but in it, it's talking about Solar and Viewfind and stuff, and it's harvesting. So
I'm trying to get Elasticsearch 7 or 8 to work on Koa 2311, but every time I try to re-index, it starts puking out code and error messages, and then it starts indexing, but then it breaks right before it stops. There comes to the end. Put up a post on the Koa and Koa US lists last week and haven't heard, so maybe I need to try Mattermost.
Yeah, I would definitely ask in Mattermost. There are developers there who hang out who can translate into user from developer. So that would be good.
Bilingual, gosh.
I know. So would anybody else like to bring up something to the group?
I have a couple questions. The first question is, does anybody use an authority vendor? We use Backstage. I don't know if Marchive or any other one else also does this, but they have the option of brief authority records, which basically is creating an authority record for any heading that doesn't have a matching heading in Library of Congress. We didn't use that before we went to Koha because our previous ILS handle authorities very differently than Koha does, but we're finding that the linking is only for it to work for us. We have to have the authority linking only on the full string, not the first part of it. So if you have like dogs, juvenile fiction, you can either have it linked to just dogs or dogs, juvenile fiction if you have a brief authority record for that. And there's a lot of headings that we have where the only versions we have are ones with the subdivisions. So, I mean, I think we do probably have something on just dogs, but there are a lot of headings where we only have the dogs juvenile fiction. So we are considering using those brief headings just so that those link together authority-wise. But then we wouldn't have dogs by itself. So I'm wondering, does anybody use those brief records and recommend using them? And then also, do you keep any authority records even if you don't have something with that exact heading in it?
So I do create those brief ones sometimes because they really help with things like if there's a misspelling, especially like maybe you'll get juvenile fiction.
Mhm.
And I have found that Koha handles blind references, like, having dogs without a bib record with just dogs in it. It's not that misleading to a user with Koha. It's kind of pretty okay. The downside to having those brief records automatically generated could be like you've got to trust your headings in your bib records once you pull that switch that they're okay. So you're going to have some quality control on the other side. And there may be duplicates down the road if the Library of Congress or some other, a NACO or SACO library creates one of those with a free floating subdivision in order to put in some references. So as long as you've got those quality control workflows in place, and do others have experience with these? I'll also throw out there, I think they're brilliant for the untied states.
Yeah, so like we have just under 1 million bibs in our system, and I can't imagine going through all the brief ones to make sure that they are correct. So I'm kind of hoping that things will just, we're in a consortium with 70 libraries. And so I'm hoping if there's a typo somewhere, somebody's going to find it, hopefully, or they're not because there's a typo. I don't know, both sides. But yeah, I am concerned about that specifically, like making sure that our headings are good before using them. We're not going to turn it on so that anytime something is added to Koha, it automatically creates it, because we have phases of records where our libraries make brief records in the system just to attach their items to, but they're not actually catalogers. They don't actually understand how subject headings are supposed to be formatted. So they'll just throw something in there that lives in this like weird limbo state until my office gets it and can review it. So we definitely don't want those creating bad subject headings. So we're only going to do it where our authority controlled vendor creates them for the stuff that we send, because that stuff will have already been like finalized by us. So I'm hoping that that will account for some of the quality control on the headings end. But I'm curious now, I'm going to ask them, do they have any, almost spell check in place? Where are they going to create something for Jivanul fiction,
Right, or the untied states.
or the untied states? Yes. All right. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that there's at least one positive experience with the brief records. Also, I'm guessing the answer to this is no, but does anybody else flip all their 800s to 830s in bib records?
I'm gonna clutch my pearls.
Yeah, I thought I might. Yeah, I'm scaring some people. So, I mean, I've been in my position for 13 years now, and this was a decision made before my time. The majority of the people who were involved in that decision have retired at this point. So I have no idea why we do this, but we don't use any 800s. We flip every 800 to an 830, even if there is no bib record. I mean, no authority record. Even if there is an authority record for the 800 or like the name title combination. I think, Heather, you might need to take the rest of the day off.
I'm gonna need my smelling salts.
Yeah, so I don't know why we do this. It kind of creates a nightmare for authority control. But I also can't imagine undoing it in our system of a million bibs, because I don't know how I would even approach that.
Obviously the data is living there happily and people are finding things, and there's no reason why you can't have an 800 author title, say O'Brien, Patrick, subfield T, Aubrey Maturin series, blah, 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 with an 830 Aubrey Maturin series. Those live happily. I mean, if y'all really need something to do, you could run an automatic process to add some 830s to those also, or add 800s, or to have both fields in the database. But I mean, I would be tempted just to, take a breath, have a moment of mindfulness, and just go forward in the future with a standard way of doing things, because obviously it's been working and people are finding series.
Yeah, it's working well enough for the patrons. And all the staff is used to it, so I'm not really interested in, if changing something that isn't necessarily broken.
Yeah, but
nobody has given me an answer as to why they did this.
And if you do both in the future, have an 800 author title and an 830, then those used to the old system can cope and those used to the new system can cope.
Yeah.
We have some questions in the chat. One of these plays off of this. What quality control workflows do I use for authorities? I use me. So I am a solo cataloger. I do all my authority control on the point of cataloging, and I do it manually. I check every heading. I import the authority records I need, and I make sure it's as sparkling as I can get it upon import. And I am also doing the quality control of our database. I am manually looking up and correcting and editing the 6 50 fields and 6 90 fields. Those are topics that do not have matching authorities. Oh, Mark's doing the same thing. Woo, woo, woo. This is the high quality slow approach. It's fantastic for telecommuting. It's fantastic for when, say, you're filling in, sitting on the reference desk, and all of the users are just busily doing their research in front of you. I am now in S, which is exciting because since we're a maritime library, there's a lot of small craft, sea songs, sailors, ships. So I've been in the S's for a while. I'm gonna be in the S's for a while. And the one thing that I really love about Koha is what I can do. I can kind of do this hack that if I find a bunch that are the same but don't have an authority record, I can make an authority record for those, and then they all link, and I can put the 010 of the correct authority in it, and then I can either like merge them together and get them fixed, or I can, if there's no correct authority for that, I can bring it in and it overlays and it fixes the headings. Because if you can get the bibs to link to some sort of an authority record and then you fix that authority record, it fixes all the bibs for you. It's kind of exciting. Play around.
So I've got a simple question. I understand bibs very well and the item records. I don't understand authority records. I read through the MARC definitions. Do I need to use them?
So no one needs to do authorities. It's catalogs work without them. Yeah. Right, Fred? The benefit to them is that it will show the one standard. Oh, and yeah, and newbie question, where do you get authorities? Okay. So a great example is something that has many variations or many misspellings. Chihuahuas. How many ways are people going to spell Chihuahua? You could put the correct spelling of Chihuahua in an authority record in a 150, and you could put a 450 CHIWAWA. And then every time someone walks up to your catalog and puts in, I want something on CHIWAWA, and you hit enter, it's going to come back with all the records with the correctly spelled Chihuahua in the subject heading. Chocolate, cocoa, chocolate. See also cocoa. So it gives you see alsos. It drives to the correct headings. They're brilliant for, and they're used for what we call authority control fields, subject headings, names, series, that sort of thing. And it's Princess Diana, yes, Sherry, is a great example of authority records. Is it Princess Diana? Is it Diana? The authority record will tell you. It's it's a controlled term thesaurus. So, social media companies will have a tags list. These are the tags we use. Like when we're talking about Alcatraz, we use hashtag Alcatraz. But if we're trying to get the attention of The Rock, the guy, we will use hashtag The Rock too. It's simply a way to communicate to everyone. These are the terms we use in these situations. I get authority records from OCLC. We use OCLC. However, you can copy them from the Library of Congress. And again, we're talking about that copy paste. I don't know about Z3950. There was a question about what is an open Z3950. What that is a way for library catalogs to connect to each other and share records and import and export records. So in Koha, for example, you can, in the cataloging area, set up Z3950 targets like the Library of Congress, the Seattle Public Library, and from your Koha catalog, you can search those catalogs and bring in MARC records for free. It's a way we share our records for free. And my catalog's a Z3950 client if anybody needs any maritime records. The monarch formerly known as Prince. Yes, that's another really good authority record.
One of my presentations, I think it was in New Zealand, was on how to get authority records from Z39, or actually cataloging records from Z3950. But authority records will also work. And yeah, Library of Congress, National Library of Medicine. Library of Congress doesn't like it when you download a whole lot at once. Because I tried with MarcEdit and it didn't work. The British Library will give you access if you ask nicely and agree not to spread them around too much.
Right. So I was going to ask, so Heather gets hers from OCLC, and that is not a free service, I'm guessing.
Right. OCLC is a paid service.
And then, so the Library of Congress, you're saying, Fred is saying you can get them from there, but only a small amount at a time. So what is the download? What kind of file type is the download?
It's a MARC record.
Okay.
MRC. Yeah, let me clarify that. MarcEdit has a function where you can put in a whole long list of ISBNs. Again, this isn't authority, it's cataloging. And then query the server. And I think Library of Congress will do 5 or 10 records and then just reject them all at once. National Library of Medicine does not do that. I don't think the British Library does it. But if you're cataloging one by one in Koha using the Z39, new record from Z3950, Library of Congress will work.
So are you saying that you just go to the Library of Congress catalog search and put in the ISBN and you get it from there?
For authority records, there's authorities.loc.gov and id.loc.gov. Let's get those in the chat.
Yeah, I was looking into a way to download all the LC authority records, or see if it's possible, and I didn't get very far.
Well, their last database that they have publicly available is from 2004, 2012. So it's out of date. But I got bored one weekend and I did import everything except for names and but topics and geo, and everything that was under 100,000 or 200,000. I gave it a try and it worked.
Yeah, actually, you can download their entire catalog up to
Yeah, that was in there too. Yeah, that one, that was in there too. It's the same year, but that one I didn't even look at.
Yeah, I tried it and it kind of broke Koha.
Yeah.
Alicia, are you talking about the Z3950? Are you asking how to import the MARC records that way?
Yeah, kind of. So Fred, when you got it from authorities.lsc.gov, did you use the protocol Z39?
For bib records, yes. There we go. Let me, uh, this. No, that didn't work.
We have some
Trying to
links.
copy a link.
We have some links that are mentioned in the chat, also the LC Link data service. And I've also put in the Library of Congress subject heading weekly lists. I check these for additions and changes. And since my catalog's so specialized, I just sort of eyeball them. There we go. Z3950 agency resources at the Library of Congress. Thank you, Fred.
Somewhere around here, there's the port and
While you're looking for that, there was another question in the chat about cataloging training. How does one become a cataloger? There is free cataloging training workshops, recordings out there. The library, the OCLC has a newsletter, I think they call it like Web Junction, that mentions a lot of free training and has links to free training. Also, a lot of community colleges have library technician programs that are excellent. And if one is interested in pursuing the Masters of Library Science, some teach cataloging, some don't teach cataloging. There's oh, thank you, Fred, for that information. Lots of good. Everyone, the chat will be copied and posted with the recording as well. Another thing that one can do is volunteer with someone in a cataloging department and just start getting some hands-on. Yes, Library Juice has courses. Some are for a fee, some are not. I know that the City College of San Francisco, their library technician certificate program is excellent. I've worked with some students and graduates of that program, and it's really good.
One thing that I found really helpful with Koha is if you're using the basic editor, it has those little question mark links on there. And if I can't remember how to do it, I click on that, it'll go to the explanation. It'll show you the formatting and everything. And I want them to be in the authority records too. And I think there's some jQuery to add them, but I've never been able to get it to work. But that would be, I think there's a bug out there, but they never got past making it just that to get the jQuery from the wiki. But yeah, I love those question marks so much. I use them all the time.
I would say too, if you're in the Koha community and you're interested in cataloging, come to these meetings and ask your questions. Also, join our cataloging Google group or ask in the new cataloging channel on Mattermost. And no question is too basic. If you have that question, many other people have that question for sure. Because cataloging is a weird and specialized field.
with weird and specialized cattle. Never mind. I don't think I need to finish that sentence.
I feel seen.
Oh, yeah, just hang out with catalogers. Take beer and pizza and cookies. Chances are they'll be able to have one of them at least. And the other way is when one cataloger retires, another person laid off, and suddenly, oh, I'm the cataloger. My favorite story, one of mine is, when I walked into my new job here, 2005, I said, "Who's the sysadmin?" And they said, "You are."
Mhm. Some people have cataloging thrust upon them. Well, we have just a few more minutes. Juliet found a bug that she put in the chat.
Yeah, it's to add those, the documentation links to the authority records. So if somebody else who understands jQuery more than me knows what I'm doing wrong, but it might just be because it's changed since they made all of that. It would be great if it was actually in Koha instead of just being jQuery that we could add though.
And this is pretty much a cataloging question, but not the nuts and bolts of it, or cataloging topic. As some of you may know, the National Academy of Sciences puts out publications that are free online. I got interested because the Institute of Medicine, there's engineering and a lot of other ones. And if you subscribe to OCLC, you can download the entire collection of MARC records. And then I just put in, it's an 856Z, I think, free PDF download with free login. Unfortunately, I can't wrap them up and send them to someone who isn't an OCLC subscriber, and I haven't gone very far in seeing how if I can get them directly from National Academy of Sciences.
Well, we have a couple more minutes. I know I'm definitely gonna CC myself on that bug to add the help to the authority records for sure. That looks like a really good one. I'll put out there too that if anybody needs any help with Bugzilla or is a newbie to Bugzilla, I encourage you to get a free account and chime in. The developers love hearing from users. All comments are appreciated. And everyone there is totally nice, like the whole Koha community.
Check out the terrific Every Other Thursday collection where Heather was a guest talking about it.
I'll also point out that there's some cataloging resources on the Koha US site for Learn. There's a cataloging area. And our next meeting virtually is going to be as scheduled, first Thursday in September, September 5th. And for those attending in person to Koha US, there will be an in-person group. I don't think it's going to be simulcast or recorded or anything. So those of you who can go, take notes and report back to us. I'm hoping that a certain chicken might attend.
Sorry, I lost June with a family emergency and it's continuing, and I just can't afford the time or the money to go. But there will be eventually adventures at the Medical Library Association in Portland and the Special Libraries Association in Rhode Island. Eventually.
Great. Looking forward to those. I will be a remote attendee. So any of you hanging out in remote attendee chat, I'll see you there.
Who here is planning to attend? I'll be there in spirit.
I'll be there.
All right.
Yay.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to end the recording.